Hello students, Sairam. In previous session, we have completed chapter number 4, sorting materials into groups. Today, we are going to start a new lesson, that is chapter number 5, separation of substances. Let's get started with this. Every day, you separate a number of substances from the mixture. We will look at some examples. Dear children, every morning when your mother or your father makes tea, they use this kind of strainer before pouring tea in the cup, right? You have seen this. You see this almost every day. Why is your mother or your father is doing this? Because they are separating the tea liquid from tea leaves, right? They are separating a useful component because we want to drink tea from a non-useful components which we usually don't eat, right? We throw them away. So this was the first example of separation where we have separated a useful component from a non-useful component. I think so, children, you understood this. So let's move on to our second example. Have you seen this at your home? This is continuous stirring of curd, which is also known as churning of curd. So, why do we do this churning of curd, children? The curd is continuously stirred because we get makhan or butter and lassi, that is buttermilk, by continuous stirring of curd. This separation is being done to separate two useful components. We use both makhan and lassi. Now we will see one more example. What is this? This is a wheat plant. A plant from which you get your wheat flour or atta, right? So basically this marked part of the wheat plant has grains in it. Here you can see this, and this is the part which we call this as stalk or straws. Dear children, this part of the plant has grains in it from which you get atta by grinding these grains. After harvesting of this wheat plant, what we do? We separate these grains from stalks. And why we are doing this? Because we want these grains. By grinding them, we get our wheat flour, and this stalk is used as animal feed. So this is also an example of separation where we separate grains from the stalks of wheat. Now next example is this example you have already studied in chapter number 3, fiber to fabrics. I hope you remember this, right? We studied cotton ginning. What is cotton ginning, children? A process in which cotton fiber is separated from cotton seeds. This process of ginning cotton is also an separation process, or we can say this is also an example of separation. Here we are separating cotton fibers from cotton seeds. Now look at this. This is a bowl of salad, and your mother wants you to eat all the vegetables. But if there are some vegetables which you don't like, what will you do? You will pick up those which you don't like and keep aside. Then you will eat the rest of them which you like. Here, children, what you have done? You have separated the non-tasty food from tasty food. So this is also a separation. This is also a separation. In today's session, we have seen some daily life experiences where we are doing separation. If you will notice here, separation is done for some reason. Now we will look at the reasons behind this separation. Let's move forward. Why do we separate substances? So the first reason for separation is to separate harmful substances from the mixture. Sometimes we do separation to separate harmful substances from a mixture. Now here children, example of this to separate harmful substances from the mixture is when your mother separates stones or insects from the pulses or rice. That means she is separating harmful substances from a mixture. In this case, before cooking rice or pulse, she will pick up the stones and insects and then she will wash them properly. Then she will cook it. Here children, what she has done? She has separated harmful substances from the mixture. So, we do separation to separate harmful substances from the mixture. The second reason for separation is to separate some non-useful substances from the mixture. And the example is straining tea leaves from tea. We have already seen that tea leaves are non-useful substances for us. And that's why we separate tea leaves from the tea. So, we do separation to separate non-useful substances from the useful substances. And the third reason why do we do the separation is that to separate two useful components if we want to use them separately. We have seen this example of separating lassi and butter by churning curd. So that's what we have done. We have separated two useful components, lassi and butter, by churning curd. Here because we want to use them separately. In this case, we also want to drink lassi and we also want to eat butter. Hope you have understood these three broad reasons why we do separation. And we do separation to separate harmful substances from a mixture. Then we separate substances to separate non-useful substances from a mixture, and also to separate two useful components if we want to use them separately. Now next is children, here is an activity shown in which is a separation process, and for what purpose we do separation is given, and what do we do with these separated components. Children, write down this in your notebook. This activity tells us about three instances and you have to tell why you are doing this separation in these cases and what do you do with the separated components. So let's take first example here, that is to separate stones from the rice. So why are you doing this, children? To separate or to remove the impurities or harmful components like stone or insects, which are impurities and they are harmful for us. That's why we are doing separation here. And what do we do with these impurities, children? Here the stone or the insect you pick up from the rice, you always throw away them. Here, and now we'll see this. Let's take the second example, and in this example what is given? Churning of curd. Here the churning of curd is done to obtain buttermilk and butter. And why we are doing this? We are doing this because we want to separate two different components but useful components, student. And what do we do with these separated components? We use both the components lassi and butter. Next is separating tea leaves. So why are you doing this? This is to separate non-useful components. What do we do with these non-useful components here? Tea leaves, right? Tea leaves are non-useful components. And what do you do with this tea leaves? You throw away this component. Now we have seen various reasons why do we do separation, children. And also we have seen the examples of separation. Now this is a homework for you, children. You have to find 3 real life situations where you are doing separation, and then you have to make table which I have shown you on the screen. In this in the separation process you will write that example, and then you will write why are you doing this separation, and what do you do with these separated substances. So children, I am ending this today's session over here. Goodbye children. Thank you.